General Managers in South Community Health Service, and I have the unenviable task of summing up today. Before I start, a pair of glasses have been handed in, so if they belong to you, come and grab them at the end of the session. On the podium here. So what an amazing day we've had. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit tired. So I've had lots and lots to think about. I'd really like to thank, can you hear me up the back? I'd really like to thank everyone who attended, and particularly all of you who are still here. It's not often that this many people last the distance, so thanks for hanging in there. I'm going to look really briefly at what we've learned today, give you a bit of an overview, a bit of a summary perhaps about what we've heard, and then talk about in the South Community Health Services response to the Chantisi report that was launched earlier this morning. So we set out this morning to promote an evidence base regarding the health and wellbeing experienced by sex workers. We've had about 5 main themes today, particularly the intersection between human rights and public health, which I spoke beautifully to. We've looked at factors that determine wellbeing among sex workers. We've looked at a variety of health promoting approaches. We've looked at the unique experiences of cold sex workers, and we've just recently examined the relationship between sex work and the law. We've heard voices from across the legal and unregulated sections of the industry. Sorry, is it the red one that flips it on? It's just the arrow. It's the arrow, right? Sorry, where was I? We've heard from practitioners, academics, and most importantly, we've heard from sex workers themselves. There's been some key messages that I'm certainly going to take away today, and some strong themes that have come through in this morning and this afternoon sessions. Firstly, there's been a really strong theme of diversity. So obviously sex workers aren't a homogenous population, and clearly have a diverse range of experiences and strengths and skills and needs, and therefore obviously require a diverse range of responses. We've also heard quite a bit about both the benefits and the negative impacts of sex work. We've heard that some sex workers experience quite marked health inequities, and while these may not constitute, or probably don't constitute, the majority of sex workers in Victoria, the people that do experience health inequities are quite markedly disadvantaged. We've also heard that these inequities may, or are probably not related to sex work themselves, but arise from the complex myriad of determinants of which sex work may or may not be one. Having said that, the main theme I think that I've heard today is that the sex work community is a really resilient and determined community, and there's certainly a lot of optimism for the future. We've heard a bit about responses today, a variety of policy and practice responses that aim and succeed in some cases in improving health and wellbeing for sex workers. I think the main thing I've heard today in determining appropriate responses for sex workers is the necessity, the imperative for community participation and ownership. And by community I mean the various communities of sex workers around Victoria and around Australia. It's imperative that sex workers are involved in all aspects of research, practice, policy development and legislation for a wider goal, not just brought in at various points throughout, but that these communities are driving all aspects of those initiatives. We've heard about the importance of research and the need for evidence, and the need for evidence-based approaches to a variety of initiatives. Obviously we need to keep moving away from moral and emotional responses to some of these issues, which I think today's certainly helped us through, and to keep moving towards more scientific approaches. The third point in terms of service responses is the importance of collaboration. So obviously we need to collaborate between and within community agencies, sex worker communities, health services, governments, police and a variety of other organisations. We released some new research this morning, the Chantisi report, which adds a wealth of new learnings to some of these debates. Just to briefly remind you, because it does seem like a long time ago, the Chantisi research was a collaboration between RMIT and the South Community Health Service. The was an extensive action research project that involved about 145 participants. We heard from James earlier, the aim of this research was to learn more about the unregulated sex industry in Melbourne, specifically to ascertain some understanding of the prevalence of HIV in the unregulated sex industry in Melbourne, but also to explore broader notions of risk and need. And the research also uncovered a whole wealth of information around social determinants of health among these populations too. The participants represented three distinct cohorts of sex workers. There were private online workers who were included in the unregulated sector of the sex industry because they weren't working strictly in accordance with the regulations. There were cold sex workers in unregulated brothels, and there was a cohort of street sex workers. So I'll briefly examine the findings related to each of these populations and outline themselves. Community Health Services call to action in relation to each of these groups. There is a document that you should have all been given on the way, which outlines that call to action in more detail. So the findings for private sex workers, and look, the sample sizes were really small. I think there was less than 30 private sex workers who engaged with this research. So, and our sampling methods were certainly not the most scientific. So I guess they're to point out the limitations of this part of the study. But the findings for private sex workers contrasted markedly with both the street sex work and the cold sex work cohorts, particularly in relation to the autonomy and choice available to private workers and their experiences of the social determinants of health. The majority of the private workers we interviewed during this research made a very conscious, informed decision to work outside the legislation. And this was generally in opposition to what they considered were unjustifiably stringent, restrictive, and at times unsafe regulations. So this was stuff around the frequency of testing, to bring that up again. But also, the other main point was particularly in relation to locations where private workers can work, which was a key factor for, I'd say, most of the private workers we spoke to in relation to maintaining their safety while at work. So based on this, Inner South Community Health Services call to action is that private workers can be permitted to work from a range of safety settings, which is hardly rocket science, really. So Inner South calls for small owner-operated sex worker businesses to be permitted to provide their own secure working environment from a business address. And obviously this would be subject to the ordinary operation of any other state Commonwealth legislation that ensures adequate adherence to occupational health and safety and other relevant legislation. The Shanchisi report made some quite different findings in relation to cold sex workers. So we're talking in the unregulated sex industry in Melbourne. So most of the people that were involved with the survey who came from this cohort were working in massage, mainly licensed but some unlicensed massage services, who were providing sexual services as well in an illegal context. Again, the sample size was really small. The recruitment methodology was definitely not the most robust, so there were some limitations in this section of the research. The people we did speak to in the cold sex workers in the unregulated sex industry in Melbourne appeared to be suspicious, perhaps, and difficult to engage with, at least initially. And look, it was hard to get some quantifiable evidence as to the reasons for this, but it appeared to be in fear of prosecution or because of illegal migration status or because they were working illegally. The people we did speak to appeared to have relatively lower levels of sexual health knowledge compared to other sex workers. And certainly the anecdotal evidence they gave us was that their clients had even less knowledge, sexual health knowledge. Some sexual health services, particularly oral sex, appear to be provided without a condom at times. The prevalence of HIV amongst this community, which was one of the original aims of the report, remains unknown because none of the, and I off the top of my head can't remember, but it was less than 30 participants agreed to have the oral swab for HIV. Other evidence from Melbourne Sexual Health suggests that the Melbourne Sexual Health Centre in Melbourne suggests that the prevalence of STIs may be slightly higher than this cohort. So in the South Community Health Services call to action for cold workers in the unregulated industry is to adopt a harm minimisation approach rather than a law and order platform when developing responses for cold sex workers. We believe there's a need for urgent public health interventions targeted specifically to this population within the unregulated industry. However, in order for these interventions to be effective, they need to be informed by a sound evidence base. So specifically, in the South's calling for two things. More state government investment into research that involves sex workers from the beginning right through the process to scope the needs and relevant responses for this particular population. And secondly, state government funding to implement the findings and develop specific responses for cold sex workers in the unregulated industry. And last but not least, the findings from Shantuzi relating to street sex workers. Out of the street sex workers in Victoria, so we surveyed, I think it was almost 100 street sex workers in Victoria. They all had a very high level of sexual health awareness, and their sexual well-being and their general health was very important to them. By contrast, their clients appeared to have little understanding or awareness or concern perhaps of some of the risks of HIV and STIs, and I suppose that statement's drawn from the reports of numerous requests for unsafe services. More than half of the cohort of street sex workers that we interviewed reported that they never provide any form of unprotected service, even in the face of increasing demand and pressure from clients. There was a smaller subsection, though, who stated that they felt they had diminished negotiating power, so due to whatever reason they felt like it was harder for them to resist the pressures from clients, and they did sometimes provide unsafe services. In spite of this, though, the prevalence of HIV amongst this cohort was extremely low. The other major finding from the cohort of street sex workers we interviewed was the information relating to the social determinants of health. So the majority, and again it's a small sample size and it's definitely in no way representative, but the people we interviewed spoke quite strongly about their experiences of the determinants of health, which led very clearly to fairly entrenched health inequities and them feeling they were stuck in street sex work and had fewer choices perhaps than other cohorts of sex workers that we spoke to. So, our call to action for street sex workers. Again, it's a bit of a no-brainer, but we are calling that street sex workers reframed from a law enforcement issue to health and wellbeing issue. Someone brought up the question of decriminalisation before, and I think that's certainly one of the key planks in forging forward with this matter. Obviously in Victoria, street sex work is illegal, and therefore public policy responses tend to be, that's a bit of a generalisation, but they tend to be based on a law, constructed from a law and order platform rather than a public health platform. We feel very strongly that policy responses that are principally based on law and order, on law enforcement, don't engage with the personal and social factors that lead people to street sex work in the first place, and certainly won't result in any improved health outcomes or other outcomes for street sex workers in Victoria. So Inner South calls for a reorientation of the current public policy approach to investment in programs that A, address the social determinants of health for this cohort, and B, provide options for street sex workers who do want to transition out of the industry. And finally, if not most importantly, Inner South Community Health Service calls for street sex work to be decriminalised as part of a holistic strategy in which street sex work is no longer an offence. I would like to acknowledge we're not as people to have had that thought. There's been a fair degree of work going on over many, many years in that arena. That's the end of my formal presentation, of all the formal presentations today. It's been a really informative and enjoyable and thought-provoking and provocative day, so I thank you all again for your participation. Before you just indulge me one more minute. There's some really nice afternoon tea out there, but before we go to that, I'd like to extend my thanks on top of Phoebe's to all the panellists and presenters from today who have done a wonderful job in sharing their knowledge and wisdom and experiences with us. So could we have one more? I'd also really like to thank Evie Locke, who's our chair, who's done an amazing job. Now, I have a personal policy not to mention individuals amongst teams, which I'm going to break in this instance, and just make a really quick thank you to Susie Hayes, who's one of the staff at RED, who's single-handedly pulled off the logistics of today. So thank you, Susie. Two more points and then we can go on to tea. I'd also like to thank the Department of Health and obviously the Inner South Community Health Service Board of Directors, both of whom have provided significant, substantial long-term support to the work of RED in supporting sex workers across Victoria. So thank you to the Department of Health and the Department of Justice and the Inner South Board. Some of those people are here, but I won't single them out. And lastly, but probably most importantly, I'd like to thank the amazing team at RED in St Kilda, without whose, I don't know what to say, commitment and passion and enthusiasm and understanding and intelligence around many, many matters related to sex work. None of us, I certainly wouldn't be here today, and lots of other people in the room would achieve what we've achieved. So if we could have we're going to have a quick round of applause for the RED team. Robbie Chapman, our CEO, has somehow muscled her way in here. So I'll let us say a few words and then invite you all for afternoon tea. So thanks for coming.
Thanks, literally it'll be 20, but Susie and Sue, you rock. This has been absolutely magnificent, and I want you both to come up and accept a very small token of our amazing appreciation. Thank you. Wonderful winners. Thank you everybody for coming. Please come and enjoy our tea. Thank you.